Okay, Jake here, and today I'm talking about my 1952 BD bulldozer. I picked this thing up in, it was about, December of 2019, and it was in pretty rough shape. I picked it up not really knowing what I was getting into, and the machine had sat for about 15, 20 years. I'm not exactly quite sure there, but it was in pretty rough shape. Well, the next problem was the shifter was off. The detent in the spring had got moisture in it from where the clutch pedal is, and the detent spring failed. Well, you could not go into any other gear other than reverse. That was the only gear it had. Well, in neutral. So the first problem was I pulled that apart, drained about 7 gallons of water out of the transmission. The engine, there was no dipstick in it for the oil, so I had drained about, I was thinking there was like 3 gallons of water in there and changed the oil. That was before I even knew if it was going to run. The next thing was I pulled the radiator off the hood. The radiator's out of a 1953 Chevy truck, and I pulled it out originally. I was going to have it record and put an original radiator in that would have been in the machine. Well, that's a little harder to do. It's a little expensive. I just didn't want to put the time into it. And then it just was looking the machine over, seeing what I had, and I knew it was a good machine from the start. I was going to put it back to work anyway. This is a Lintz Novell 1080M starter, and these things are hard to find. This is the part that really held me up for the longest time. I had almost a year and a half, almost close to 2 years in the starter. The fields were shot, the brushes were shot, you can see just as how bad everything was in the pictures here. And I finally found somebody to rebuild it. I bought a second machine, a 1945 BDH, and it turned over well enough, but the fields were bad in it too. So it took two starters, plus they had to make some parts for the others, and I was able to get at least one working starter for right now. The solenoids on them both work, so I have the good solenoid. It just the starters were pretty well horrible on both. Jake here, and working on the old BD, and I got my makeshift fuel filters up there. Got a little electric fuel pump, and I was having fuel issues with this thing and went through the lines. The lines had crap in and that, and got down here to the injector valves, and there's a couple of vents sticking. Got Hercules governor, fuel pump. After I got the starter put in and made sure it turned over and that, I went and tried to start it. Well, it had a ground issue, and it had a Caterpillar isolator switch key in it. Well, it kind of got hot and it kind of melted the whole switch and destroyed the switch. And I just got to put a new ground on it and remove the switch entirely. And it was getting to be a long day after working on that thing, and I Man, oh man, that thing sounds good. Yeah. It might be a family of bird feed. I think it's hard to find bird feed. Yeah. Good night about $3,000. How many tickets I looked at over the years online and on government to look at them. $15 something like that. And I ended up paying $700 for the guy started working on money as well. It was roughly the age of that. Not a lot of those. That means something different. Okay, I'm working on the BD today, and I had to pull that injection pump out of this thing because this seal right here, it went bad and it was just leaking oil out of it. So took that, pulled the pull pump off, replaced that, and now working on getting her put back together. Had to pull the starter out too, and that thing's just heavy. Okay, picked up a new fender for this thing. I'm working on putting it on, and the old one was beyond gone. There was a rot spot from here clear up to here. This whole sidewall was gone, and it was in really bad looking shape. I'll have to take and grind this piece off here. They had a homemade seat on it, and I'm getting rid of that. I got an original seat I'm putting back on this thing, and still got a little bit of a fuel leak. I quite haven't figured. I'm going to have to try to line the tank or something. It looks like it almost stopped. There's still half a tank of fuel in it. Okay, this is me putting the water pump back on. I had to take that oil pressure line off to get the water pump back on, and the pump was cracked and I had it brazed, and it's not leaking now, so that's good. Now I was the one that had to replace the front idler wheels on this thing, and on the left side, and I had to get underneath of it and cut the track guard off. It was just one track side guard on for the rollers, and I just decided I just cut the bolts off of it. I tried to get a wrench in there to actually get them loose, and they were just so, the heads were so messed up on them. I just decided to cut them off, so that's what this is. And then I had to replace some front idler wheels, and they were not in very good shape. Now I was the one that had to replace the front idler wheels on this thing, and on the left side, and I had to get underneath of it and cut the track guard off. There's just one track guard off the roller, and I just decided I would cut those off and I tried to get everything possibly get them loose and maybe just make it clean that stuff. I just decided to replace that front idler wheels and they're not in very good shape. That one track guard just was in the way enough just to keep me from getting this idler off. I don't know if you can tell this, you can see the difference in this thing, but that's the old side compared to the new side there. And I mean, I guess that's about 1.5 inches versus under 1 inch, so you can really tell the between these two how wore out that side was versus this one. It's used, but it's in a lot better shape. So I had to clearly get that rock guard out of there, and it was a mess. just about brings it to the end for this video on the machine. Currently, just last night I loaded it up. I took it out to Dairy Fair in Dairy, PA to show it off at a tractor show. Well, it's a little ag fair. So I have it out there. I'm going to do a video of it out there driving around. I got a couple friends and relatives go out there and they enjoy that fair, so I figure I'll take it out there to show it. And yeah, this project had taken a little longer than I had wanted to, and kind of was everything that went on the last couple years, and then the starter issues, and that thing, it's a rare machine. You don't see them very much though, so I mean, I'm glad I bought it versus I was going to buy a Caterpillar D2 for the longest time. I kept looking at them, and I found a Cletrac, and they're a little more hard to come by, a lot harder to find parts for versus a Caterpillar, but they're a nice machine.